views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and welcome to the Lehman College celebration of President Ricardo Fernandez's 26 years of service and leadership. Please allow me to introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bruce Irashalmi, and I work here at Lehman at the Bronx Institute. I'm honored to have been asked to serve as your Master of Ceremonies this afternoon. I retired from the New York City Department of Education in 2005 and have been here now for almost 11 years. I'm a graduate of the first Lehman College graduating class in 1969. Thank you. I began here at Hunter in the Bronx in 1965 as a 16-year-old who wanted always to be a teacher. If you lived in the Bronx and you wanted to be a teacher, this was and still is the place to be. To begin this afternoon's celebration, please sit back and enjoy a video journey down memory lane in honor of President Fernandez.
Our insistence on excellence must be unrelenting, especially with students who all too often have been the object of neglect and apathy in our educational system. It will take dedication, faith, and lots of hard work, coupled with innovative strategies and new pedagogical approaches to accelerate, to maximize learning opportunities. We will have to create and experiment with unique mentoring and advising methods until we identify ones that work, that produce improved student retention rates and enhanced academic performance.
I really feel that I'm not only part of the Fernandez family, but also of the Lehman College family.
President Ricardo Fernandez, I know well his dedication towards science, technology, for his students, his constituents here, and he's worked tirelessly to get this building created, built, and I think your future is extraordinarily bright and very exciting.
It's a pleasure to be back at Lehman College. You are doing great stuff. You are building, you are growing, you are nurturing the minds for tomorrow, and it's my pleasure to be here. And you have a tremendous debt of gratitude to a leader who is doing great things with this college. They talk about him all around the CUNY system. President Fernandez, pleasure to be with you. Thank you for your leadership.
No, I want to thank President Fernandez because since my arrival here 2 years ago, one of the first meetings that I had was with him, because they were cooking the possibility of having a Center of Mexican Studies at the Lehman College. And I was so impressed to see the enthusiasm and the involvement of President Fernandez and all his team, his staff, follows what should be done in this intense, every day more intense relationship between Mexico and the United States.
This great institution, with the direction of Ricardo and his background, have made it so comfortable for people to be in surroundings where they know they're with family and they're with friends, even though they call them professors. Ricardo is a hero because he does this in such a casual way, as though everyone should be doing it.
I think of Ricardo as a cool guy. Ricardo lightly carries the mantle of being president of this college. He's like Signor Smoothacelli, you know, he's like, he does it without effort, and he's a wonderful leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm honored to be here, in part because you're here. I've known you as someone who has spent pretty much all his adult life in the service of others and in the service of those who have least advantage in American society, and in the service of uplifting them and including them in the American family. And so I'm proud to be here and proud to be asked by you.
I want to thank President Fernandez for welcoming us and for giving us a chance to see the really wonderful work that's happening here at Lehman College. So I say to the President, congratulations to you and the whole team here for the great work you're doing, opening up powerful economic futures for the students who come here and the folks who come here seeking an opportunity to build that kind of future for their family.
When you come into a neighborhood, one of the first things you do is introduce yourself and make friends. Well, for us, that was Lehman. Under President Fernandez's leadership, your staff has been unbelievably accommodating for us. They see the vision, they see the opportunity to what we're doing for the kids, not only in the Bronx, but across the country.
Lehman College has armed me with the knowledge, the intellect to compete with anybody.
My affection for CUNY and Lehman has never been stronger. There may be no place in this country that does a better job of balancing the goals of public higher education, broad access, and extraordinarily high quality education.
And I want to thank Lehman for hosting us here today. And our community college system, the CUNY system, our public education institutions, they are all pathways for success, and we're very proud of what they do.
Dr. Ricardo Fernandez, President of Herbert H. Lehman College, it's a great honor for me to deliver the 47th annual Herbert H. Lehman Memorial Lecture. Here at Lehman College, I had the privilege of ringing the Peace Bell a short while ago, which was introduced by the President. This is yet another symbol of the historic bonds between Lehman College and the United Nations.
I'm very proud of what Lehman has achieved over the past 2.5 decades. And as we look to the future, we've developed a plan to guide the development of the college over the next decades and to sustain the institution in the rapidly changing and increasingly competitive environment of higher education in the United States. I'm confident that the preparations we've made for Lehman's future endeavors and for the future challenges will enable my successor to hit the ground running and to continue advancing Lehman's tradition of excellence in urban public higher education.
One more congratulations for the videographers. They really capture the essence of 26 years. Now it's time to introduce our speakers for the afternoon. You probably know most, if not all of them. They were selected to represent all of us with anecdotes, remembrances, and salutes. Our first speaker is a professor of political science who was serving as vice chancellor at the central office when President Fernandez went through his interview process some 26 years ago. It is my privilege to introduce Professor Ira Bloom.
I'm very pleased to be here and to be able to express my appreciation to President Fernandez. In 2018, Lehman College will celebrate its 50th anniversary. As Dr. Fernandez completes his 26th year now, it is remarkable that for its first 48 years, Lehman has had only 2 presidents. Its founding president, Dr. Leonard Leaf, and the successor president, Dr. Ricardo Fernandez, and that both presidents shared a strong academic background in the study of literature and languages, and that both came to the presidency through what today would be considered non-traditional paths. Startling as it may seem with the current corporate-style, consultant-driven presidential search process that the City University now employs, I think it is quite unlikely that either of our extraordinary presidents would have made the list of finalists. And that would have been a very sad outcome for the college that we love. I've known and worked with Dr. Fernandez for over 26 years, beginning when he was recruited by CUNY for the Lehman presidency, and I was with the CUNY Central Administration and involved with assuring that Dr. Fernandez would accept the presidency following his selection by the Board of Trustees, and then easing his transition into the post. Dr. Fernandez arrived at a time of great change and challenge within the university. A new chancellor, much different from her predecessor, was also taking office. It was a time of budget stringency, although that's not very unusual for us, and heightened student activism. Although Ricardo came to CUNY from the outside, the University of Wisconsin, he learned the peculiarities and intricacies of CUNY remarkably quickly, and from the beginning, he provided the even-handed and strong leadership that Lehman needed during this period of transition for both the college and the university. Perhaps most remarkable was Ricardo's willingness to engage directly with the activist students in a personal and very effective way. At a time when at least a few of his fellow presidents, who shall remain nameless to protect the guilty, were hiding in their offices, if those offices were not being occupied by the students. And in one case, I have this on good authority, was hiding under his desk, all under the leadership of a chancellor who was deathly afraid of the students. In one instance that I witnessed, Ricardo drove a Lehman student activist who was demonstrating at the central office back to Lehman, an action that would have brought the wrath of the chancellor down on his head had she heard about it. Ricardo was not afraid to engage with the students. Ricardo and I have had many adventures together. For a number of years, we co-taught a course in American public education. And once again, Ricardo demonstrated the willingness to really be with his students. After the class was over at 9 p.m., he would talk with the students and answer their questions about various college issues. Last week, at another event honoring Ricardo, Chancellor Milliken commented that Ricardo had brought Lehman into the 21st century. What he did not elaborate upon is that Ricardo brought Lehman into the digital age in a very determined way, leading to, among other accomplishments, the fact that Lehman offers the highest percentage of online courses among the senior colleges. Perhaps this dispels the oft-heard myth that humanists cannot understand and appreciate the importance of the new technologies. I have had the privilege of working closely with both of Lehman's presidents, and during my 9-year tour of duty at the Central Administration, of working with a number of other CUNY presidents as well. Lehman has been very fortunate in having only 2 presidents at its helm during its first 48 years, both outstanding leaders with great integrity. Some CUNY senior colleges have had too many presidents, and some have had the wrong presidents. The Lehman community owes much to Dr. Fernandez for his thoughtful and compassionate leadership during his 26-year stewardship of the college. And for that, I say thank you, Ricardo. And I hope everyone here today will join me in saying thank you, Ricardo.
President Fernandez is especially honored by the presence of our next speaker. The Bronx is honored to have our next speaker as its borough president, and the leadership that he's shown and the spirit of life that he's brought back to the borough of the Bronx has really made us all feel pretty good about him at the helm. It's a pleasure to introduce to you the borough president of the borough of the Bronx, the Honorable Ruben Diaz, Jr.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I know we're sad. I know he's leaving, but I don't think he'll be going too far. I know that this is also an event for the faculty and the family of Lehman, and so I'm bogarting this event because I consider myself a part of the Lehman family. So hopefully you will allow me to share this moment with you. The fact remains that Presidente Fernandez se te quiere de gratis. I really have learned to appreciate you from a professional standpoint as a member of the New York State Assembly, as the borough president, I think that there is no bigger public servant. You don't see a better professional, someone who has mastered his or her craft at what they do on a daily basis, but also has gone above and beyond what I call the call of duty to expand those services to the beyond the walls of this wonderful campus. In order to educate the borough, in order to do the right work, that you sometimes have to participate in areas that have nothing to do with Lehman College. But go out there with community events, give of yourself, sacrifice family time, not only working here on the campus, but promoting the progress of this wonderful borough. And so what you've done here as the president is you've taken the presidency to a higher level. You and your board, you've fought so hard so that we can have arts and sciences. You've rebuilt and increased the technology infrastructure. You've been innovative about online education. You've afforded those who are economically disadvantaged to be able to get a good education. Many of you have heard me time and time again, but on a personal note, I've benefited from so many of you. I benefited from Lehman. I benefited from having the leadership of Dr. Fernandez here. You already know how I feel about Professor Bloom and so many others. As a student, think about what I had to go through, and so many students have similar stories. I was a young father, a young husband, a young assembly member, having to sort of navigate my professional and my career with also being a student. I remember folks like Scott Dames helping me out and help me navigate this. And I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you, that I thought that it was maybe because I'm an elected official and I was getting, preferential treatment. But the fact is that I saw that treatment to so many of the students, whether they had a title or not. And that's what it's really all about. That's what it's really all about. And because of that, thousands and thousands of young men and women and young adults who have come through these doors have been able to upgrade their curriculum vitae, their resumes, their skills, because of the knowledge and the classes that they've been able to obtain here at Lehman. And that comes from the very top. That comes from you. And so I'm here out of respect. I'm here on behalf of 1.4 million Bronxites to say thank you. I'm here on behalf of myself and my family to let you know that, Lehman helped me and my family in a big way. And you've been a friend to me personally. You've been a friend to my family. You've been a friend of the Bronx. We can't be so selfish, ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros. 26 years at the helm. It's a long time. And so sometimes we get selfish and there's, we get melancholy. But you know what? You go out there and you do whatever it is that you want to do. You go out there and be wherever you want to be now, not where you have to be. You go and spend time with your family. You go fishing if you want to, go golfing if you want to. You take your time, you get your rest, you make yourself and your family happy because you deserve it. And ultimately, that's what we all want. We all want to better ourselves. We all know that we all have to work hard, but also we expect that when it's all said and done, that there's that light at the end of the tunnel where we're able to enjoy the fruits of our labor. And you, my friend, if anybody has earned the ability to enjoy that, is you. And so I just wanted to say gracias. Vete a relajar, descansa y haz todo lo posible para que tu corazón se sienta contento. Thank you and God bless you all.
Thank you, Borough President Diaz. We appreciate you taking time to be with us this afternoon. Our next speaker is a professor of languages and literature who also serves as the director of the Lehman Scholars Program. Please join me in welcoming Professor Gary Schwartz.
Good afternoon. It's a privilege to be here. You all out there in this august, exquisitely educated and erudite audience gathering to honor President Ricardo David Fernandez's extensive exemplary service and retirement will recognize a Shakespearean cast to the beginning of my brief but profoundly heartfelt remarks. Therefore, I come this afternoon to praise Ricardo, not to retire him. It is with reluctance that I see Lehman's second president and record-smashing Hall of Fame longest-serving president in the City University of New York's history, a quarter of a century plus one, making the inevitable but lamentable decision to hang up, so to speak, his spikes, even though he has played and coached and managed so long and with such dedication, devotion, and determination. Just imagine what being at the helm of the ship of public higher education in this borough of chronically tempestuous waters, a metaphor which reverberates from the depths of classical antiquity, entails. The ability of our president to navigate the rocky, shallow shoals and unexpected trenches was abundantly observed and commended in his early years at this college when he was made a member of Lehman's Phi Beta Kappa chapter. Since it became clear that he so embodied the principal tenet of the society, represented in the letters Phi, Beta, and Kappa, Philosophia, Biu, Kubernetes, the love of wisdom is the helmsman of life. And so has President Fernandez's love of wisdom, irrepressible curiosity, delight in discovery, and inquisitive nature piloted our college on a steady course in fair wind and in the face of hostile gales. Am I able to give you an example of his wisdom? Emphatically, yes, I can and will. And it was his sage observation and pronouncement about power and precinct among high-ranking administrators who were in place in the college when he was in his first year as president. He said, "There are some people who, whenever someone else gets something, are sure that it is at their expense. Isn't that just what ails the country? It sure is what ails academia." From all his sense of sport and the spirit of play in American life, he suggested that we faculty and administrators literally play ball on Sunday afternoons on South Field. And we did, and those were wonderful blue sky afternoons. Ricardo was the only one among us who was an identifiable natural athlete. His swift hands and grace and ease on the diamond made this clear. Was Roberto El Clemente looking down on us? You bet. In my experience as a faculty member and quasi-administrator over 47 years, these most recent 26 years have been the most exciting part of a lengthy academic career with repeated challenges demanded by an ever more complex world generally and a university system which specifically seems to outcomplex a monumentally changing world. That Ricardo has stood staunchly steady and never left us is a measure of his commitment to this college and the tens of thousands of students who have graduated since his arrival, and his role and their role in the socio-economic health of the population of the Bronx. I think his leadership has been masterful, and I say this knowing that there is no way I could, or very many other individuals could, under the challenges we have faced, walk a mile in his shoes. He has been a mensch, an hombre, and what the Portuguese call un homem de mundo, a man of the world. Several years ago, I received a phone call out of the blue from the president's office. Help! We need someone to talk to a reporter from the Daily News and there's no one else around who can talk with him and provide him with a statement about what kind of person the president is. Damn, I thought. Since I am normally an unguarded and casually profane person, just what kind of remarks would slip from my lips. But when that reporter called and asked the question, describe what kind of a person is the president as a person and a president, I replied, he's receptive, reflective, and generous. And that was what was printed the next day in the paper. And I believe it tells the whole story about our man. Thank you.
Perhaps we should dwell a bit on erudite and august. I thought that was very complimentary to the audience here. The presenter who follows was my first new friend when I came here to Lehman College the second time. Professor Alicia Georges and I served on a committee involving community health issues soon after I came to the campus. She was a delight to work with then and remains a delight to work with to this day. She's chair of the nursing department. Unfortunately, she was not able to be with us in person. However, she did take the opportunity before she left town to record a message for President Fernandez. Please listen.
President Fernandez, I am sorry I cannot be physically present today as the faculty, administrators, and staff celebrate your 26 years of leadership at Lehman College. I've been here at Lehman during your 26 years of leadership. There have been triumphs and also not what was expected outcomes. During these times, you have never wavered from your goal of making Lehman the best it could be. I and the faculty and staff of the Department of Nursing have been encouraged by your spirit and particularly your commitment to developing the best health and specifically nursing workforce for the Bronx and New York City. Our family nurse practitioner program and soon to be approved doctor of nursing practice would not have happened without your support and encouragement. On a lighter note, you always gave me an audience whenever I came to tell you what I thought about everything here in the college and the university. Your calm and well thought out responses to me were really appreciated. Oftentimes, we agreed to disagree, but always with respect for each other. As you contemplate what is next, remember these words from an old spiritual. Let my work speak for me. Your work at Lehman College these past 26 years have spoken loudly for you by the accomplishments that will live on for many years. Enjoy your planned retirement, and remember, you are not done yet. Go on to Life Reimagined.
I mentioned to you earlier that I work at the Bronx Institute with Professor Herminio Martinez. Professor Martinez is the executive director of the Institute and obviously my boss. I'm sure that you all recognize that it's difficult to find the right words to introduce your boss. Words like charming, intellectual, generous, professorial, and insightful come to mind. Please, this is my job. As some of the best words that Professor Martinez gave me to use this afternoon. Please welcome with gusto, Professor Herminio Martinez.
Bruce, you left out a couple of words, so we have to talk about that. Well, how do I begin this? I've been friends with Ricardo Fernandez since 1978, and I've had the pleasure of being his colleague in different arenas since that time. Very briefly, let me tell you how we met. Ricardo was directing at the time a technical assistance center in Milwaukee that was working with communities, with teachers, with parents, with students, helping to develop plans to educate language minority students. And I was directing the same center in New York. We met, we found that we had a lot in common. We liked each other, just the way friendships develop, and ever since, we have been friends. Well, we are in 2016. So many years have gone by, and so with very mixed emotions, I thought about what would I share with you about Ricardo Fernandez. And then it occurred to me, well, don't talk to the audience. Talk to Ricardo and tell him what normally I would never tell him because I would not have the opportunity to. And that is what I respect about him. And I will share that with you. First of all, Ricardo, I respect your humildad, your humbleness. We human beings take titles very seriously. Professor, dean, vice president, president. Ricardo never did. He is the same Ricardo today that I met in 1978. And that is a tremendous value. It speaks a great deal, and is something that I respect greatly. Second, I respect your commitment to your values. I mentioned before that he was working to serve those that needed help. Well, he continued that at Lehman College, and that was mentioned previously. I would like to share with you, if I may, leaving names and places out. There was a moment in time when CUNY was in turmoil. And I had the privilege of being with President Fernandez at a meeting where, in fact, even his own presidency could have been in jeopardy. And he defended the rights of Bronx students to enter Lehman, to be supported, to be helped, and to graduate. He defended standards, but he defended the mission of the college. He defended the social mission of the college. And we have not talked a great deal about that, Ricardo, but that is a moment that I will always remember because you put it all in the line, and I respect you greatly for it. And I think that those that were questioning what was being done at places like Lehman gained greater respect because of people like you. And then finally, I'd like to say a word about your constant commitment, and I underline constant. Since I came to Lehman and the Bronx Institute, we have activities with students and parents on weekends. And at the end of every term, we do something special with them, and we ask the president to join us. And he's been there all these years, over 20 years. And so I want to thank you, Ricardo, because that's not something that presidents commonly do, taking the time out. And I want to thank you, Pat, because you shared him. Your family also has to be thanked. All those Saturdays that he was here, the many times that I took students that had graduated from Lehman or had attended our programs, and I asked if we could stop by to see the president and have their picture taken with the president, and how much that meant to them. That's not common in a president. And I respect you greatly for your commitment and for all that you gave to all these students, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And finally, Ricardo, it has been an honor to be your friend. I know we will continue to be friends. I'm looking forward to having breakfast with you in San Juan by the ocean again. He knows a wonderful place down there. And I thank you on behalf of all of the faculty members, of all of the staff of the Institute, and the thousands of students and parents that found a home in Lehman through our programs, but because of your support. Again, thank you so much.
Brilliant, inspiring. Oh, no, never mind. I have to come back to work tomorrow. The High School of American Studies continues to flourish in partnership with Lehman College, and as you all know, was established during the tenure of President Fernandez. Most recently, the HSAS, I love acronyms, was cited by U.S. News and World Report as the #1 high school in New York and the 15th ranked high school in the nation with a 100% college-going rate. President Fernandez saw to it that the DOE selected an exceptional leader, and that leader is here today, having traveled from all the way on the other side of the street to join us and share his reflections. Please welcome Alessandra Weiss, Principal of the High School of American Studies at Lehman College.
Good afternoon. The rector of the first university in Europe, founded in 1088 in Bologna, had a job that was as difficult as that of today's college president. While most of the professors at the university were Italian, the students hailed from all over Europe and formed societies similar to the medieval trade guilds to represent their countries of origin. And delegates from these national groups then elected a rector who was required to be 24 years of age, to have completed at least 5 years of study, and to be unmarried. The rector reported to the students, and the professors reported to the rector. Professors could only miss class if their students consented. If a professor's lecture attracted fewer than 5 pupils, he, and in one case she, did not receive payment. Professors had to cover texts as per a schedule agreed upon by the class or risk a fine. And the rector organized a committee of students to conduct class observations and set salaries. On behalf of the students, the rector also negotiated favorable rents in town lodgings and regulated the interest rate charged on student loans, which existed even in the medieval era. When the students felt poorly treated by the residents of a particular town, they threatened to leave and take their business elsewhere. And this gave the university and the rector great power. For example, in the year 1200, a night of drunken debauchery at a tavern resulted in several students being slain by police. The rector made a report to the local magistrate who, fearing that the students would abandon the town, condemned the police and burned down the homes of those who had harmed the scholars. He also required that citizens take an oath not to harm members of the university. Over time, the professors grew tired of employment on such stringent terms and formed a guild of their own. These early unions sought donors to endow academic chairs, and the rector's job was to fundraise. This is when the modern college presidency was born. In 1988, the rectors from all over Europe gathered in Bologna to celebrate the 900th anniversary of the founding of its university. They published a document entitled the Magna Carta Universitatum. In it, they made a declaration of certain principles in which they strongly believed, such as the centrality of the university in encouraging the unfettered pursuit of knowledge. The rectors also, and importantly, affirmed their commitment to using the university to effect improvement in local communities. And this is why I stand before you today. Nearly 15 years ago, your rector embraced a unique project, truly embraced this project, and founded the High School of American Studies at Lehman College. He made us feel welcome, and he nurtured our growth. He advocated for our interests and took pride in our successes. He even showed up to root for our baseball team when we lost spectacularly in last year's championship at Yankee Stadium. We are, after all, known for our brains, not our brawn, but we did make it to the championship. In short, he was and will always remain the the very best of our friends. And in this way, President Fernandez stayed true to the original job description of rector as a champion of the students and of the institution that he represented. And for this, and for so much else, on behalf of the students and the faculty at the High School of American Studies, I express our warm, heartfelt gratitude and our very best wishes for a happy retirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandro. The High School of American Studies is certainly fortunate to have you as its principal. One of my co-alum when I was here in the graduating class of 1969 went on to be congressman in the United States House of Representatives. He's represented here by his associate, Richard Fetterman, who's also an alum, and he's here to make a presentation to President Fernandez. Please welcome Richard Fetterman.
My first joke when I came in today, when I spoke to Dr. Fernandez, I said, we both had a great run. I was here to speak when you were sworn in, and now I'm here to speak as you leave. And all I can say as a fellow alum, or President Diaz and myself, we've benefited greatly from CUNY's mission, and may I say that during these 26 years, I'm certainly glad that you have continued to steer our alma mater to greater things, and I know whoever will follow you will have hard shoes to fill. I am here actually on behalf of the congressmen because they are in session today in Washington, and I'm here to present you with one of my favorite things. It's called the Congressional Record. We decided, and the congressman decided, I'm not going to read these because they're long, but I will read the last paragraph because that's where he interjects his personal self. He says, "It is most apparent that under Dr. Fernandez's steady leadership, Lehman College has grown leaps and bounds since I first attended the school as both an undergraduate and graduate student. He has been a tremendous partner in the community, and as the school honors him for his 26 years of exemplary leadership, I want to take the opportunity to congratulate him as well and thank him for all he has done for Lehman. And I thank you too, as a graduate, I thank you. So on behalf of the congressman, if you could come up for a second, I'd like to present this to you. And I will end my little remarks by saying Dr. Fernandez is also a constituent, so if, of course, there's anything you need from us, we are certainly here to serve you as well. So I am going to leave this. I don't know where you'd like me to leave this, but can I leave it with you, Bruce? Thank you. Okay. And on behalf of the congressman and myself, thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Jose Magdaleno is the longest-serving vice president in the current administration. He arrived here in 1993, only 3 years after President Fernandez, and has been at the president's side for more than 23 years. Please welcome Lehman's Vice President for Student Affairs, Jose Magdaleno.
Thank you, Bruce, and good afternoon, everyone. As Bruce mentioned, I came to Lehman in 1993, and I've worked directly for Dr. Fernandez since that time. And like some of the previous speakers, I can attest to the changes that have occurred both at Lehman and across CUNY during his presidency. And there were other speakers that alluded to some of the things that have occurred over his years in office here. And those of you that were here in the 1990s will recall a very, very difficult time for the City University of New York, and of course, Lehman was no exception. In 1995, We had a very, very significant budget crisis and then retrenchment. In 1999, there was a very damaging report about the university, which some of you may have read, titled CUNY, A University Adrift. And indeed, on the very day that that report made the papers, and that was Saturday, June 5th, 1999, I was standing right here in the Lovinger Theater, speaking with a group of parents and friends who had come to Lehman for an open house. And of course, my job that day was to talk about the college, what we had to offer, and to help parents, students, and parents understand that this was indeed a place for their sons and daughters and wives and husbands to attend. Well, it was a packed house, very much pretty close to what we have here this afternoon. And as I was talking, at the end of my remarks, I asked if any of the parents had any questions. And from the second part of the Lovinger Theater, a student parent stood up and waved this newspaper at me. Now, those of you in the back can't see this, but this is an actual copy of the Daily News from June 5th, 1999. And the headlines, for those of you who can't see it, proclaim very loudly and broadly, F for CUNY. Scathing new report shows the CUNY system in shambles. Well, let me tell you, that was not one of my best mornings that I've ever had at work, not in the least. But here was a room of parents and friends and family members, and they wanted to know, why should my student come to Lehman? So I went on to tell them, of course, why indeed Lehman was the place for their sons and daughters to study. Now, of course, in the years since then, CUNY and, of course, Lehman College has changed dramatically. And as we all know, President Fernandez has been a key part of that change. And he's dedicated a third of his life to this institution, strengthening it at every level, and has helped steady the ship through some very, very difficult and troubled waters. And he's done so by engaging in the details of the solutions needed to strengthen the college, but he's always managed to stay above the nonsensical fray and to stay focused, and has always, always kept the best interest of our faculty, our students, and staff above all else. And he's done so with a unique mix of humility and compassion and fairness and humanity. And he's never approached strategic problem solving or strategic planning with his mind made up, or as if he had a monopoly on the right answer. Like any great leader, President Fernandez has always known how to keep his ego in the appropriate place. He has never suffered from the smartest person in the room syndrome. That is, he's not afraid not to be the smartest person in the room. His inclusive style of leadership has brought us a long, long way. Now, on June 5th, 2016, just a few weeks from now, it will be 17 years to the day that I had to stand on this stage here in the Lovinger Theater and defend Lehman College to the parents and family members who were here that day. And certainly I would not have to do that now. Our record speaks for itself, and the record of Lehman College is a very fair and accurate reflection of the record and legacy of President Ricardo R. Fernandez. Thank you, Ricardo. We will miss your leadership, your humanity, and your compassion. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Jose. Professor Alicia Galvez serves as the director of the Jaime Lucero Mexican Studies Institute, in addition to being a professor of Latin American, Latino, and Puerto Rican studies. Please give a very big bienvenidos to Professor Galvez.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here, even though it's a sad moment for us to see Ricardo no longer a part of our daily existence, but we will continue to count on him for his sage advice. Directing one of the youngest institutes here at CUNY, I've had the opportunity to work very closely with Ricardo, and it's perhaps not as well known that the Institute would not exist if it weren't for the advocacy of Ricardo. 5 years ago, we were just in the initial proposal phases. There was a CUNY-wide task force to try to boost Mexican and Mexican-American enrollment in the City University. And Ricardo advocated very powerfully, not only for the Institute to come into being, but he also was the very first person within the institution to say it should exist, and it should exist at Lehman. And he's been an advocate in every step of the way. But that advocacy was not new, it was not unprecedented. He has spent his entire career, as many of us know, advocating for Latinos in higher education. But he has a very particular trajectory that makes him an especially avid advocate for increasing the enrollment of recently arrived immigrant groups. And his relationship to Mexicans in particular is very long-lasting, because you may not know that when he was in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee, as my colleague Herminio mentioned, he led an institute that was precisely designed to go door to door and bring information and services to the growing Mexican population in the Midwest. And in that work, he developed networks and relationships with other people who were leading such efforts around the country. But I think even more than that, he developed an attentiveness to the needs of families and the needs of people who are thinking about sending their child to college and planning for the future where their children will go to college, and what kinds of questions and what kinds of advocacy are needed in those populations in order to make higher education seem like an appropriate path, a feasible path, one that can be reached. And so that perception that you can only get when you go door to door and talk face to face with people on a daily basis is what he brought to the spirit of the Institute, and we've tried to implement it in everything that we do. So he has not only helped us to secure resources and navigate the bureaucratic structures, which we all know are not a joke in CUNY, but he has provided that mentorship, those networks, and cultivated leadership. And there's one very particular characteristic of his mentorship and guidance of the Institute, which I think is really telling and illustrates Ricardo's generosity. Many people within the university, because it's so big, because it's so decentralized, often struggle to make their own corner of that university look as good as possible. And that has contributed in some places to there being a little bit of jealousy about institutions, about resources, and Ricardo's sensibility is completely the opposite of that. From the very moment that the Institute's proposal document was approved by the Board of Trustees, he sat me down and he said, this is a CUNY-wide institute, and you need to go out into the 5 boroughs and make sure that the Institute is known and active across the university. There is no other institute that I believe does that to the degree that we have tried to do that. And I doubt that most institutes have incorporated that as part of their mission. And it makes a lot of sense because for our institute, because the Mexican community is in the 5 boroughs, and it's all across the university, all 24 campuses. So when we go to have a conference, we've had our annual conferences at Lehman, but we've also held them at John Jay, we've held them at BMCC. Ricardo is in the front row, sitting next to whoever the the host president is. And that generosity of spirit, that ability to make, to allow another campus to look good for that day and host these conferences and not have any sort of anxiety about whether Lehman is getting proper credit, is a testament to his spirit that whatever we do when we leave the walls of Lehman is a good reflection on Lehman. And so that freedom and that ability to operate across the institution, which makes so much sense for the work that we do, is a real testament to his generosity. So I just want to tell you again that we honored him on Friday with an award, and so we had the opportunity to celebrate him. But I want to say here as well that even though we will miss you terribly, your legacy will live on in all of the work that we do. Thank you very much.
It is fitting that our last presenter is also our Chief Academic Officer. Annie Morabel Sosa serves as the Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs at Lehman College and has made her presence felt from the first day she arrived on campus in 2012. Please welcome our Provost, Annie Morabel Sosa.
Buenas tardes. It is strange to be the last speaker because I also have known President Fernandez for the least amount of time from all of those who have spoken before me. But I also want to tell you something about him from a national perspective, because that is how I first heard of him. President Fernandez, for those of you who may not know or remember, is the first Puerto Rican, the first Latino, to be president of a university in the state of New York. For that, those of us who are also Latino, in many cases immigrant, as I am still, it is particularly important to recognize the contributions made by so many of us, despite very difficult opportunities during that time frame, but nevertheless having been able to overcome that. There is also another thing that we share, and that is that I too was raised in Puerto Rico, and so on occasion we're able to speak in very candid language, very candid tones, in ways that only Puerto Ricans can understand. Another item that we share is that we were both selected in different decades. We were both selected fellows of the American Council on Education. And that is typically a year in which one spends learning about higher education and about serving in that capacity for those individuals who will be our next leaders, both nationally as well as in academia. I left New York City in 1980, and my life academically revolved primarily around the states in the South, and for the longest time in California. Then I attended a national meeting of the American Council on Education in 2007. And this person that I had heard of had been elected the chair of the board of the American Council on Education, and that was Ricardo. That too was a very eventful day. I was present during that meeting. I didn't get to vote because only presidents are allowed to vote. But had I had the opportunity, my vote would have been there too. So when I had both the opportunity and the capacity to return to New York under the auspices of being able to serve this president, it was just another opportunity to learn again, because indeed he has been both a professor and a mentor. One of the things that is searched during the year that one spends as an ACE fellow is to learn the characteristics of leadership. I had the privilege of also serving two very long-serving presidents, and they have and share the same characteristics: integrity, honesty, humility, empathy, and vision. But one thing that remains as both a characteristic of this particular president is that whenever you speak about him with others and they try to give that one definition of who he is, caballero is always that word, gentleman. We will miss his vivid eyes, his engaging smile, and when I sit with him in his office one-on-one, the learning opportunity that I have received whenever I've been with him. There is another saying in our Latino tradition, and that is to be able to give our colleagues, whether they be our elders or those for whom we have a lot of respect, the term don. And with that, I would like to express my gratitude to el señor presidente, don Ricardo Fernandez.
I've been asked to present a memento of this occasion to President Fernandez on behalf of all of us. And so I ask him to join me at the podium to receive the memento and then offer a few thoughts. President Fernandez.
Thank you. Let's give a hand to this wonderful MC. I will be brief. A lot has been said, and I want to thank everyone, not only for being here, but certainly the ones, my friends and others who have spoken. I want to thank you for those thoughts, for those feelings that you have expressed. I want to thank, of course, my wife, who has been with me through thick and thin. This could never have been possible without her support. There's no question at all in my mind about that. And I've had the good fortune to have had, over the years, people very loyal and very dedicated to this institution and to the values and the ideals of the City University. I didn't know much about the City University of New York when I first came here. I had been in the Bronx, I think maybe a few times here and there, but I didn't know really very much about the Bronx. I would come on a regular basis to New York City because I had been, since the early 80s, a member of the board of directors of the Puerto Rican Legal Defense and Education Fund, and I would come quarterly to New York City for a board meeting. And I had a brother at that time who lived in New York City, and I would stay with him and share. But I was pretty much Manhattan-centric. I didn't get out to the outer boroughs, as we talk about them now. But when I came here, I decided I needed to learn about this city university that was so different and so distinct. So I spent in my first year a lot of time going around and seeing and visiting, actually spending time with the president and seeing each campus of the university, because it's so different. And you can read a lot of things about it and you can see images, but you don't get the feel of what this institution is like, because there's nothing quite like it. So I learned, I also, since I often do this, I also happened to do a little research on CUNY, and I read 2 or 3 doctoral dissertations about CUNY. That's all I could find. And I learned about City College, I learned about open admissions, I learned about the mission of the university and some of the struggles that had existed over the years of this fine institution. But then I learned about Lehman. When I did my first commencement, I started talking to students, and a lot of them didn't even know who Lehman was. In fact, there was an article in the New York Times that a reporter came when I was being inaugurated as president and asked some of the students, you know who Herbert Lehman was? And they didn't know. Sometimes they see a car that says Lehman. It's a driving school. and they knew about Herbert Lehman High School, of course, in the Bronx, but the man himself. So I decided that it was important to educate the students and everyone else about that legacy of that very unique individual who gave a lot to this city, to this state, to this country, to the world. He was not only a great governor, a man of great empathy, who presided over the legislation of a lot of really avant-garde laws to protect workers, to provide compensation for people who were injured, to do a lot of things that we now take for granted in the years right after the Depression, when he became the governor, after FDR became the president. It was a very difficult time for the United States and for the state. And yet at that time, Lehman led the investment that led to the construction of a lot of the buildings that we now see are part of Lehman College and a part of the City University of New York. That kind of leadership is sorely missing. Sometimes I wonder, when are we going to get people like Herbert Lehman in the Congress, in the legislatures, because that's the kind of leadership that is needed at this point. A man of vision, a man of principle, someone that I have grown to read and learn a lot about. And that statue, that bust that you see in the campus is something that the members of the Lehman family themselves helped us visualize and correct. We had one of our faculty members do a plaster model, and then it was fixed, and then eventually we had it turned into bronze, and that's what you see out there. I have learned to know the Bronx. I have learned to love this borough. I feel very much at home and at Lehman. And I just want to end by saying that I want to thank all the people that have worked with me. This has been a collective effort. And I can't start naming people because there are too many here, and I don't want to leave anybody out. But you know who you are, and I thank you. I thank you all. Thank you for making this a very special afternoon for me. I will always have Lehman in my heart. And by the way, I'm retiring as president. I'm not retiring from life. I expect to be back from time to time. I'm going to leave some space for the person who comes, because that's what my predecessor did when I first came, and I think that's appropriate. But I will always have an interest in what goes on at this institution, and I expect to be back for special events, for special celebrations. Last night, I was elected a member of the Urban Male Leadership Program. And let me finish with this. If you look at my education, my formal education, high school and college and graduate school, all of it has been in private institutions. And I was talking about that the other day in the Senate, the Lehman College Senate, because I had an invitation some weeks ago from the principal of the High School for American Studies, and I would go visit that school once a semester, twice a year, maybe more often. So after we spent some time, as we usually do, in the office talking about how the school is doing and what are some of the issues and so on, he said, "Come on, I want to show you something." So we went outside, and lo and behold, I find all the students were there. I mean, the entire school and the teachers were there. And I was presented with an honorary high school diploma from the High School for American Studies. So now I have my high school diploma from Colegio San Ignacio de Loyola and my Jesuit education on one side, and I have the High School for American Studies, you know, the #1 school in New York State. So, #1 school in Puerto Rico. And then, not to be outdone, the Senate, I said that at one of the Senate meetings, later I go to the general faculty and I'm given 2 diplomas, not 1. The faculty voted, and it's true, it's official because my signature is on it. I was recommended for a Bachelor of Arts and a Master of Arts in Presidential Leadership Studies. Summa cum laude. Thank you very much.
Don't go away. Just stay here. That's what Jay Leno used to do. I'd also like to ask Mrs. Fernandez to join the president at the podium. We have a remembrance for Mrs. Fernandez, which will be presented by Assistant Vice President Rene Rotolo, in celebration not only of this day, but of her recent retirement from many years of distinguished service in the New York court system. Congratulations to Mrs. Fernandez. As I prepared for this event, and you know, this is how Chris Rock started, so I'm taking this very seriously. I tried to recall some learning, some experience I had at Lehman those many years ago that related to this president. It took some time to find the right connection, but I think I did. Please allow me to read a portion of a Ralph Waldo Emerson work recalled from a course here at Lehman College in American Literature, which has proven useful for me to understand how to measure success. Emerson writes, "To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded." I think by any reasonable measure, and certainly by Emerson's, as individuals and as a couple, you have both succeeded, and we have been the beneficiaries. Please join me in voicing your approval with your applause. I'm going to ask Dr. and Mrs. Fernandez to return to their seats as we conclude this event. However, we have a brief and memorable video next. And following that, I'm going to ask you to join President and Mrs. Fernandez in the faculty dining room, where you may personally have the opportunity to offer your own thoughts and recognition to add to today's program. Please remember that if you have not yet recorded a message and wish to do so, the videography will continue in the foyer of the East Dining Room as you proceed to the faculty dining room. Please give your attention to the screen.
Thank you, President Fernandez! Thank you, President Fernandez! Thank you, President Fernandez! We love you, President Fernandez! Thank you, President Fernandez! Woo! We love you, President Fernandez!
We love you as well, President Fernandez. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming, and enjoy the remainder of the evening with President and Mrs. Fernandez in the faculty dining room.
Health and wellness is an important aspect of life, especially in the Bronx, and the East Side House Settlement, along with Herb and Lehman High School, held an interactive, holistic wellness fair for the community to be aware and know where they stand health-wise.
Our idea today is that wellness is not only physical, wellness is spiritual, mental, financial, and knowing all aspects of wellness is something that you could put in your pocket for another day, and it's like something just to build up your toolbox, something that you could just take home with you and you could share with your family.
According to Maribel Pena, social worker at Eastside House, this fair is to make people aware of what's going on in their body and bringing them the resources to make the process easier.
So we have daycares here, we have Bronx Arts Academy of Science, we have insurance companies. So we have a lot of different things here just to make sure that people are up and moving.
Kristen Bellum of Our Children First tells us how her company is helping children in the Bronx.
So Our Children First is a company where we provide services for children and their families. And what we do is we provide therapy. So we provide speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, counseling, and it's free for everybody.
Now let's hear from community members on how Eastside High is changing their lives and also how this wellness fair has helped them.
They're showing us different ways to release our stress. They're showing us different ways to stay healthy. They're trying to give us more options to be better kids.
My son, he's part of the school, so he wanted me to come here, just to find out what's going on and to also help his mother with my health issues too.
This is Nancy Asiama, BronxNet. El Sancocho Musica celebrates culture, roots music, and dance by bringing entertainers to the Bronx to celebrate the Puerto Rican culture.
We developed this project in order to promote the celebration and performance practice of La Plena.
Sancocho Musical is like the meat and potatoes of the community. It got the flavor. It has that sense of community when we all gather together, and it's beyond a performance, It's family and joy.
The hybrid event promotes social community gatherings, giving Bronxites a taste of Puerto Rico. The musicians tell us how it feels to perform in the Bronx.
It's an honor to be here with these legends of Plena music from New York, so I'm very excited to join them today.
As intended, community members, especially those with Puerto Rican backgrounds, came to hear, sing along, and enjoy some of the good music and vibes sponsored by El Sancocho Musica.
They're inviting kind of the elders, kind of people from the community to participate and jam, which is why it's a sancocho. It's a great mix, it's a stew.
This cultural roots musical event has been going on for years with the hopes to continue making the Puerto Rican culture relevant within the community. This is Nancy Asiama, BronxNet.
These outstanding artists from the Bronx, 25 in all, were recognized at Hostos Community College's Longwood Gallery on 149th Street for their creative excellence. At the Bronx Council on the Arts annual Bronx recognizes its own award ceremony, now in its 27th year of providing grant money to homegrown talent across the borough.
It feels amazing to be acknowledged like this here, and also to have my show opening here.
A winner in the performing arts category, playwright Rock Wilt is promoting Brooklyn Quarter, that looks at the evolving relationship between three childhood friends from Bedford-Stuyvesant, set to open at the Pergonis Theater on June 24th and 25th.
And the story is also, it's about racism and privilege and gender issues, and it's bookmarked by the Sean Bell shooting. So it starts the day after Sean Bell was shot, it rewinds 20 years, and then it ends the same day after Sean Bell was shot.
In the category of media arts, filmmaker Emmett Thrower's documentary film, Where is Hope? The Art of Murder, looks at police brutality against people with disabilities.
Which is a powerful film that sort of captures what's going on nationally today with the police and the people being brutalized, particularly people with disabilities.
Released in November of 2015, Thrower says it was the experience of a friend that inspired him to bring the issue to light.
And her name is Idris Deli, and her son was killed and murdered by police, and he had a mental disability. And it impacted her. She became disabled as a result of him being killed.
Each was presented with a check for $3,000, totaling $75,000, demonstrating BCA's resolve to provide Bronx-based artists the ability to share neighborhood stories, with the selections based solely on the work submitted and judged anonymously by a panel of 40 art professionals from outside the Bronx and working in each respective field.
Well, tonight, what it does to see a whole new group supported is that it gives energy, right? It gives us energy that we're continually producing more artists, awarding more artists. There's more artists that live in the Bronx, are honoring the Bronx is honoring them. And so for me, it's about that energy. It's about keeping that energy alive.
A 5-time Brio grantee, Sarah Stern is a poet from the South Riverdale, that is. She is winner in the literary arts category.
My second book is very much being about a woman in middle age, going through all the different ups and downs one goes through, in whether it's jobs, family.
If you want to see Roy Secord's work, all you need to do is head to the Grand Central Community or Wall Street. A painter and visual artist, his work, always on a grand scale, is featured in several lobbies of office buildings.
I am a large-scale abstract painter. I primarily work in acrylic, sometimes oil, on stretch canvas.
The evening also served as an opening reception for Brio 6, featuring the work of 16 winners from 2015 and 14. To get information on upcoming exhibits featuring the work of current winners, you can go to BronxArts.org.
Since 1989, the Bronx Council on the Arts has provided a little over $1 million in grant to Bronx artists. The hope is to cultivate and support the borough's art community. For BronxNet, this is Arlene McCook.
We're here at the Botanical Gardens with Community Board 7 as they host their last meeting before the summer recess and as they honor those who have been committed to their neighborhood. Community Board 7, headed by Adeline Walker Santiago, is known as one of the top 5 boards out of 59 citywide. David Cruz, one of the honorees tonight and editor-in-chief for Norwood News, says that the community making use of 311 is a major reason for them doing so well.
And between 2010 and 2016, they had filed over 200,000 311 complaints. And by knowing how the system works, you can actually get results a lot faster than, say, not filing anything at all.
Bronx DA Darcel Church, who is the first African-American woman to hold the position, spoke on her partnership with the community.
It's just a community that's flourishing because of the fact that there's so many people that are interested in improving the quality of life in the area. It's nothing in particular, it's just that This is a community board where the people are fully engaged in making sure that their community is safer. And I'm just proud to be a partner with them to make sure that we can provide safer streets for the Bronx residents.
Topics brought up throughout the year were economic development, public safety, quality of life, and job placement. Members of the board are not the only ones heard, but members of the community as well, which has made the board successful.
Well, I think that community boards are an incredibly important part of local government. They are the most local type of government, even below the city council members. They're the most representative. You have people that are local activists, individuals that are incredibly involved in the day-to-day affairs of the community.
We are a very diverse district. We span many different neighborhoods, and we bring people together and talk about issues that are affecting their quality of life. And I think that's important, that so many different people of various groups and backgrounds can come together at a meeting like this and talk about issues like that and really focus on how we can do better.
When we work together, it helps build a relationship, and it also helps build, like Ms. Adeline said, a family, and that's important. It's sort of like what we had when we were growing up. You know, it takes a village, and it sure does.
Meetings will reconvene in September every third Tuesday. For more information on times and location, just log on to BronxCB7.info. For BronxNet, I'm Veronica Guiti.
In an effort to make the Bronx community healthy and fit, the New York City Parks Bronx Recreation and TIGA Pediatrics presents Family Fitness Festival, where the entire Bronx community from young to old can learn how to keep healthy and happy during the summer.
The Family Fitness Festival was created to bring families together and teach them how to live healthy lifestyles by providing healthy food demonstrations, free fruits, different workshops to work out, yoga, Zumba, kickboxing.
Representatives from Crunch also came out to the festival to help the Bronx community to become fit and healthy just by signing up.
We're here at this fitness festival, which a lot of people are actually doing a lot of fitness stuff, Zumba, and we're here today to encourage people to join us, to have a day-to-day life fitness goals for them, and hopefully they'll come in, sign up, and start the goals as soon as possible.
Parents and children were elated to be a part of the Family Fitness Festival here at the Williamsbridge Oval Recreational Center, as many residents just became aware of the many activities for the family that the Bronx provides.
I like the activity because it's free and the kids are having fun. And the dancing contests, every time we come, my kids win.
They had tattoos, they had face painting, they had dancing contests. It's just been a whole lot of different activities for these kids.
It's been a blast.
For more information about upcoming events in the Bronx parks, visit the website www.nycgovparks.org. For BronxNet, this is Katie Loy Knight.